going back to the book, we believed that the Russians would wait. Sorry. Back to the book. Finally, we came to the Memel River, where the Russian border was. We believed that the Russians would wait on the other side of the bank and attack, but nothing happened. Bonaparte fired upon the high points held by Russians with a few cannon and sent his cavalry across the water. The Russians, however, withdrew after a short encounter. And this is so cool to hear this, because this is the Russian defensive tactic. You don't hold the line. You hold the line of a little bit, and then you retreat. And you inflict some damage on the enemy, on the invaders. You inflict some damage on them, and then you retreat. And then they when the enemy attack, when the invaders attack again, you inflict some damage, and then you retreat. And you're just drawing them in and drawing them deeper and deeper and deeper into Russia. And what they didn't expect was that what the Russians did was very smart. When they retreated, before they retreated, they destroyed everything. They burned the houses. They killed the livestock if they couldn't take it with them. They dug the fields up so there was no food. Because that was the standard. The standard was, as an army, as a soldier in this time, you lived off the land. You didn't need a supply chain. You just lived off the land. Okay, we'll hunt some meat, and that'll be our dinner, or we'll dig up some crops that we find, and that's what we'll eat. Oh, and for shelter, we don't need to carry shelter with us. We'll just stay in the houses. So the Russians, very smart, they destroyed all that. And the French were not expecting this tactic, and it was very, very effective. Back to the book. On June 25th, the army went over the bridges. We now believed that once in Russia, we need do nothing but forage, which, however, proved to be an illusion. The town of Ponimon was already stripped before we could enter, and so were all the villages. So they thought they might be living high on the hog, but didn't happen. Back to the book. Here and there, a hog ran around and then was beaten to death with clubs, chopped with sabers, and stabbed with bayonets. And often still living, it would be cut and torn to pieces. Several times I succeeded in cutting off something, but I had to chew it and eat it uncooked, since my hunger could not wait for a chance to boil the meat. The worst torture was the march, because the closed ranks forced all to go in columns. The heat and dust flared up into our eyes as if from smoking coal heaps. The hardship was doubled by the continual halting of troops whenever we came to a swamp or a narrow road. Often one had to stand for half an hour, then another such period was spent catching up and drudging away without food or water. So this is something that anybody that's done any kind of forced road march in the military can appreciate. You come to some kind of a choke point, like let's say you got people walking down a road and they're, let's say 10 or 15 guys abreast and just marching and walking. And you get to something where it's a choke point. So now all of a sudden it's like a traffic jam. Only 3 people can go across this walking bridge at a time. So that means everybody that gets there has to stop. Well, the people that got there first, when they get to the other side, they keep that pace going. So by the time you at the end of the tail, an hour later or a half an hour later, when you get across, you've got to now run to catch back up. And so it's just, it's painful. And of course, on top of that, you add the fact that these guys have no water or food. Back to the book. During the third night, a halt was made in a field which was trampled into a swamp. Here we were ordered to camp and to make fires since neither village nor forest could be seen, and the rain continued without end. You can imagine in what a half-numbed condition everyone stood there. What could we do? There was nothing that we could do but stack rifles in pyramids and keep moving in order not to freeze. So it just went, in a day, it went from hot, and this happens out in the desert too. It's hot, and then all of a sudden at nighttime you're freezing. Yeah. And these guys, they get told to build fires. Well, guess what? There's no wood. Everything had been burned. All they could do is stack their rifles.